Imagine the world still sleeping, the streets silent, the air crisp with untouched possibility. You risen not because you have to, but because you choose to. That's where greatness begins. It doesn't begin at noon, when distractions flood in, when excuses pile up. It begins in the stillness, when it's just you and your willpower. The decision to start early is more than a routine. It's a philosophy, a declaration that you will lead, not follow. Because when you start early, you're not just ahead in time, you're ahead in mindset, in effort, in ambition. The world doesn't reward the dreamer who sleeps in. It rewards the one who turns their dreams into actions before others even open their eyes. There is power in the early hours. It's where the noise hasn't yet arrived, where self-doubt is quiet and clarity is loud. It's when you get the chance to prepare, not panic, to focus, not scramble. Champions are built in the hours the world ignores. The ones who run before sunrise, who read while others snooze, who plan while the rest rush. You don't need a perfect plan, you need a powerful start. And the earlier you begin, the more unstoppable you become, because the path gets easier, but because you get stronger. Starting early builds mental discipline because it forces you to win a battle. Most people lose the battle with yourself. When you rise before the rest of the world, before the light breaks the horizon, before the noise begins to stir, you're not just making a choice about time, you're making a statement about who you are. That moment, when the alarm goes off and your body begs for 5 more minutes, that's when your character is tested. You're not choosing to wake up for comfort or convenience. You're choosing it because discipline demands it. You're building something much greater than a morning routine. You're building a mindset, a foundation that can carry you through life's biggest challenges. Mental discipline isn't about doing something when you feel like it. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when everything in you wants to quit. And there's no better training ground for that kind of strength than the early hours, when silence surrounds you and the only voice you hear is the one inside your head. The discipline to wake up early teaches you how to separate your feelings from your actions. Your feelings might want sleep, but your actions declare war on excuses. You stand up when you'd rather lie down. You move when it would be easier to stay still. Every time you do that, you chip away at weakness and forge inner power. That power doesn't just serve you in the morning. It stays with you all day. It becomes the fuel that gets you to the gym, that keeps you focused when distractions tempt you, that helps you stay calm in the middle of chaos. Mental discipline is the backbone of self-mastery. And when you start your day by mastering yourself, the rest of the world no longer controls you, you control yourself. There is something primal and empowering about beating the sun. It's a message to your mind that says, I am in charge here. That single act of getting up early becomes a victory that echoes through the rest of your life. You feel it when you show up to work already ahead. You feel it when you're clear-headed and focused because you've had quiet time to think, to plan, to prepare. You feel it when you're less reactive because you've already faced down resistance once today and won. That victory compounds, that momentum builds, and it all begins with a single disciplined choice at the start of the day. Most people live at the mercy of how they feel. They wait to feel ready, wait to feel inspired, wait to feel energetic. But people who rise early train themselves to move without needing permission from their emotions. They become the kind of person who leads their day instead of being led by it. That self-leadership starts small, but it builds unshakable resilience. When life throws its punches, early risers have already fought their internal battles. They're mentally conditioned. They're grounded. They've trained themselves to do hard things on purpose. And so when hard things happen by surprise, they're not thrown, they're ready. Starting early doesn't just give you time. It gives you control. Control over your day, control over your energy, control over your decisions. And all of that control is rooted in discipline, the mental toughness to act in alignment with your highest self, no matter what your lower self whispers in the early morning hours. That kind of strength is rare. It's not built in grand moments, it's built in quiet decisions. Before sunrise, when the world sleeps and no one's watching. But those moments, those early wins, shape everything. Because when you master the morning, you don't just become productive, you become powerful. When you start your day before the world wakes up, you give yourself an undeniable edge. It's not just about getting up earlier than others sits, about using that time to build momentum before distractions, interruptions, and chaos can find you. Early mornings offer a rare window of clarity, where your mind is fresh and your environment is quiet. In that space, you can think deeply, plan clearly, and act deliberately. The choices you make in those first hours compound throughout the day. If you choose discipline, you carry it forward. If you choose focus, you stay centered. If you choose growth, you keep building. Those early actions put you ahead, not just in time, but in preparation, in intention, and in mindset. This unfair advantage isn't about competing with others, it's about outperforming the version of you that sleeps in, procrastinates, and drifts through the day. By starting early, you eliminate the scramble. You're not reactive, you're proactive. While others are rushing through breakfast, you've already stretched, read a chapter of a book, written your goals, and maybe even gotten in a workout. That momentum spills into everything you do. You walk into your responsibilities with confidence, not hesitation. You speak with purpose, not pressure. And because you've already taken time to center yourself, you don't get lost in the noise of the world. You rise above it. The edge you gain by starting early is subtle, but powerful. It shows in your consistency, your clarity, and your calm. While others chase motivation, you operate from habit. And those habits, repeated over time, build a gap so wide that those who slept through it won't even understand how you moved so far ahead. It's not about doing more, it's about doing first, doing with intention, doing without excuses. That edge is the product of commitment, and the world doesn't hand it out freely. You earn it every time you choose to rise when no one else will. Waiting for motivation is one of the greatest lies we're sold. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind, unreliable, unstable, and impossible to predict. If you rely on motivation to move you, you'll stay stuck more days than you act. The truth is, action creates motivation. When you do the thing, especially when it's hard, especially when you don't want to, you start building momentum. That momentum fuels your energy, sharpens your focus, and strengthens your belief. And once belief kicks in, motivation follows. It doesn't come first, it comes after. That's why starting early is such a powerful strategy. You take action before the doubt creeps in, before your brain can talk you out of it. The act of rising early is resistance training for your mind. You feel the pull of comfort, the desire to stay in bed, and instead, you act. That action is a signal to your brain, I am in control here. And when your brain hears that signal again and again, it starts to believe it. Your identity shifts from someone who waits for the right moment to someone who creates it. And that identity becomes the foundation for everything else you do. You no longer need external energy to move, you generate your own. You no longer need the perfect mood to begin, you decide, and then you begin anyway. Over time, this shift becomes who you are. Not someone trying to wake up early, not someone forcing discipline, but someone who lives it, who breathes it, who embodies it. And that embodiment makes you unstoppable. Not because you never feel resistance, but because you've trained yourself to move through it. The early hours become your training ground. The place where you prove to yourself, day after day, that you don't need permission to be great, you just need action. And every early step you take is proof that greatness is already within you. You're just choosing to wake it up. Success is not something that explodes into existence through one big moment. It's not built on a single day of effort or a flash of inspiration. True success is crafted in the mundane, the repetitive, the seemingly invisible work that compounds over time. It is the direct result of daily habit, small choices, stacked one on top of another until they become a towering force of progress. Starting early is one of those habits. It seems simple, even insignificant, to rise before the sun, but done consistently, it rewires your identity. You stop being the person who tries and start being the person who does. That transition isn't dramatic or flashy. It's quiet. It happens when no one's watching. But that's where greatness is born. When you commit to waking up early, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Not once, not occasionally, but every single day. And each time you follow through, you reinforce that identity. Your mind begins to align with your actions. You start seeing yourself as someone who is disciplined, reliable, and focused. That belief drives future behavior. You act not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. That consistency becomes your edge. While others are chasing new strategies, new hacks, and shortcuts, you're building a foundation that never wavers. And it's from that foundation that all success grows. The power of habit lies in repetition. One early morning will not change your life, but one early morning repeated hundreds of times will. It becomes automatic. It stops being a struggle and starts being a rhythm. And in that rhythm, you find your strength. Your mornings become productive, your days become structured, and your life begins to shift. Not through force, but through flow. Because your habits are working for you instead of against you. You no longer have to think about doing the right thing, it becomes your default setting. That's the kind of transformation that sticks. The kind that doesn't fade when things get tough. But building that consistency takes patience. Most people quit before their habits have a chance to take root. They expect instant results, visible change, loud rewards. But habits grow in silence. They require trust in yourself, in the process, in the idea that something small can lead to something extraordinary. Starting early doesn't offer immediate gratification. What it offers is momentum. You begin to feel different. You carry yourself differently. You notice you're calmer, more prepared, more in control. Those are the first signs. And from there, the shift accelerates. One good habit leads to another. You start eating better, thinking clearer, working smarter. It's a chain reaction. One strong morning becomes a week, then a month, then a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is unstoppable not because it's perfect, but because it's resilient. Habits give you stability in chaos. They anchor you when life spins sideways. When things go wrong, your habits are there. When your motivation fades, your habits stay. That's why the commitment to start early is so powerful. It's not about the sunrise, it's about what it represents. The discipline, the intention, the refusal to drift. You are telling the world every day that you are building something, slowly, yes, silently, yes, but steadily. And with enough steady repetition, you wake up one day and realize you've become someone else entirely. Someone who doesn't need to chase success because you're already walking its path. Someone who doesn't talk about potential because you're already living it. That's the power of small habits done consistently. That's the foundation of an unstoppable life. Comfort is seductive. It wraps around you like a warm blanket and whispers to you that you deserve to rest, that tomorrow is a better time to begin, that doing less is safer. But growth never comes from that place. Growth lives on the other side of resistance, in the space where discomfort begins. It challenges you to stretch, to reach, to become more than you are. Starting early each day is a deliberate rejection of comfort. It's choosing discomfort on purpose because you know comfort keeps you stuck and discomfort pulls you forward. When you leave your bed in the quiet hours of the morning, when your body wants to stay in warmth and stillness, but you move anyway, you are proving to yourself that you are capable of doing hard things. And every time you do something hard, you grow. Not because the task changes, but because you do. Choosing discomfort in the early hours builds a mindset of resilience. If you can win against the voice that says, stay in bed, you can win against any other voice that tries to limit you. The mind, when untrained, will always seek ease. It will always search for the path of least resistance. But that path leads nowhere. It loops you in circles, comfortable but unfulfilled, busy but not progressing. The discomfort of waking early, of showing up before you're ready, of doing the hard thing when you'd rather rest, is a kind of training. It conditions your mind to stop running from struggle and start embracing it. And once you embrace discomfort, you become untouchable. Challenges no longer break you, they build you. People who choose comfort first live in a cycle of regret. They say things like, I should have, I wish I had, and maybe someday. But those who chase discomfort speak differently. They say, I did, I can, and what's next? Their vocabulary is built on action, not avoidance. And that action starts the moment they stop surrendering to the easy way out. That's what early risers understand. It's not just about the time on the clock, it's about the choice to step into challenge before the world demands it from you. To get uncomfortable before life forces it on you. That choice builds grit, it builds pride, and it builds momentum. There's a cost to comfort that most don't see until it's too late. It robs you of potential. It keeps you from testing your limits. It keeps your dreams as distant fantasies because you never step into the heat required to chase them. But discomfort is the fire. It burns away weakness, hesitation, and fear. It lights up clarity, strength, and purpose. And the more often you step into that fire, the less it burns. You become immune to excuses, immune to distractions, immune to quitting. Because you've already chosen the harder path so many times that it becomes the normal one. Starting early is never convenient. That's what makes it powerful. It's not the easy thing, it's the necessary thing. Each morning that you push through the heaviness, through the stillness, through the pull of comfort, you create proof. Proof that you can trust yourself. Proof that you can do what others avoid. That proof compounds. And eventually, it becomes your identity. You stop seeing discomfort as something to run from and start seeing it as something to run toward. That shift changes everything. Because the person who seeks growth over ease is the person who outlasts, outperforms, and outlives average. That person becomes unstoppable not in talent, but in mindset. And it all begins with the decision to stop choosing comfort and start choosing power, even when it's hard. Every morning is a decision, and every decision is a vote cast for the person you are becoming. When you choose to start your day early, you're not just getting out of bed, you're declaring your values, your priorities, and your future. That single act becomes more than a habit, it becomes a ritual of commitment. You are saying through action, I choose growth, I choose discipline, I choose to lead my life instead of letting life lead me. That choice adds up. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's powerful. Each morning you rise with purpose is another vote toward becoming the kind of person who is unstoppable. Most people don't realize how much power lives in small, consistent decisions. They think greatness is a result of a breakthrough or a lucky opportunity. But the truth is, greatness is created in invisible moments. The kind that happen when the world is asleep, when no one is watching, when it's easier to hit snooze than to stand up. And that's what makes your early morning decision so meaningful. It's not convenient, it's not easy, but it's yours. You own it. And because you own it, you begin your day from a place of control rather than chaos. You walk into the world with momentum already in motion. These votes you cast every morning shape more than your day, they shape your identity. You start to believe in your consistency. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through. And that belief changes how you show up in every other area of life. You stop questioning whether you're capable. You've already proven that. You stop waiting for things to feel right. You've already chosen to act regardless of how you feel. And that consistency builds trust, not just from others, but from yourself. That trust becomes a foundation for confidence. Not because you think you can do something, but because you've done it. Over and over again. Without fanfare, without recognition, just relentless, repeated proof. When you make early rising a discipline, it becomes a lens through which you see every opportunity. You no longer say, I hope I get lucky. You say, I'm ready for what's coming. Because you've already prepared. You've already trained. You've already put yourself in motion before anyone else even started. That level of preparation makes you dangerous in the best way. It means you're no longer reacting to life, you're creating it. You're setting the tone instead of adapting to it. And people notice. They see the difference in your energy, your presence, your results. But most importantly, you feel it. You feel grounded, clear, and in control. These daily votes don't just shape your success, they protect it. On days when everything feels off, when pressure mounts, when plans fall apart, the fact that you've already shown up in the morning becomes your anchor. You don't spiral, you don't crumble. You adjust, but you don't abandon, because you've built your resilience in advance. That's what early rising gives you. It's not about being awake before sunrise. It's about who you become when you consistently choose to rise. You become the type of person who doesn't quit on themselves, who doesn't wait to be inspired, who doesn't hope things change, but takes responsibility to change them. Every single day is a new opportunity to cast a vote. Not for perfection, but for progress. Not for approval, but for purpose. When you rise early, you say yes to the life you're building and no to the patterns that used to hold you back. And over time, those votes transform you. Not instantly, not obviously, but inevitably. Because you are becoming the sum of your choices, and you're choosing to become unstoppable, own discipline morning at a time. You don't need more hours in a day to change your life. What you need is ownership, true. Intentional ownership over the hours you already have. When you decide to wake up early and take control of your morning, you're not creating time, you're claiming it. You're no longer letting the day dictate how you move. You're deciding how it begins. That single shift, from reacting to creating, turns time from something you chase into something you master. You stop being pulled in every direction, and instead, you move with purpose. You walk into the day already ahead, not just in schedule, but in spirit. Because it's not the clock that makes you unstoppable, it's your clarity. Most people wake up into chaos. They reach for their phones before they've even reached for their thoughts. They check messages, scroll feeds, and absorb noise before they've even asked themselves what they want from the day. They live on autopilot, jumping from task to task, urgency to urgency, without ever pausing to consider what really matters. But when you start early and take ownership of your time, you break that pattern. You give yourself space to think, to plan, to prepare. You reconnect with your goals, your purpose, your why. That mental alignment is what transforms ordinary days into powerful ones. Because when your mind is clear, your actions follow. And when your actions are focused, your results multiply. Control is about more than productivity. It's about peace. It's about not feeling rushed, overwhelmed, or behind before the day has even begun. It's about knowing you've already given yourself what you need to succeed, physically, mentally, emotionally. That kind of start can't be bought or faked. It's earned, quietly, in the early hours when no one else is around. And that quiet is your secret weapon. It's where you learn to hear yourself again. In a world that constantly tells you who to be and what to chase, early mornings give you a chance to decide for yourself, to return to your own voice before the world drowns it out. Taking ownership of your time also gives you a deep sense of responsibility. Not the kind that weighs you down, but the kind that lifts you up. You stop blaming circumstances, distractions, or other people. You realize that if you want something, you can make time for it. And if you haven't made time for it, maybe you didn't want it badly enough. That kind of radical accountability is liberating. It shifts your mindset from, I don't have time, to, I choose how I spend my time. And that choice makes all the difference. The early hours also offer something rare, uninterrupted time. Time without texts, calls, meetings, or noise. Time that is purely yours. In those moments, you can learn, build, reflect, or create. You can do the hard, deep work that gets pushed aside in the rush of daily life. And doing that kind of work consistently over weeks and months adds up to massive progress. The world may not notice right away, but you will. You'll see it in your confidence. You'll feel it in your energy. You'll know it in your results. Owning your time is not about being busy from dawn to dusk. It's about being intentional with every hour you live. It's about designing a life instead of drifting through one. And that design begins with how you start your day. When you rise early, you don't just move first, you move with clarity, purpose, and control. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing what matters before the world even wakes up.